I never thought picking up my arthritis medication would turn into a nightmare, but here we are. It all started on what seemed like a regular Tuesday. I had just come back from the pharmacy, holding a small paper bag with the meds I depend on daily. Living in a quiet HOA neighborhood, you think things like this wouldn't happen. But then, enter her asterisk. You know the type, clipboard in hand, always watching from her window, convinced she runs the world. Let's just call her the HOA Karen. What she did next shocked everyone. I stepped inside my house for just a moment, and by the time I came back out, the bag with my medication was gone. At first, I thought maybe I dropped it or left it inside, but deep down, something felt off. So I checked the security footage from the pharmacy's outdoor cameras, and what I saw, unbelievable. She didn't just take the bag, she opened it, smirked and tossed my arthritis meds straight into the trash like they were junk. No remorse, no hesitation. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just about medication. This was personal. And what happened next? Let's just say the police got involved, and so did the pharmacy. But the way it all unraveled, you'll want to see this. Now, before we get into how everything exploded, let me give you a bit of background. I've lived in this neighborhood for over 5 years. It's quiet, full of older folks, dog walkers, and the occasional over-the-top HOA meeting. But one person has always stood out, our self-declared enforcer. She's not officially on the HOA board, but she acts like she runs it. She watches people's lawns, times how long packages sit on porches, and hands out passive-aggressive notes like they're candy. And for some reason, she's never liked me. I've always kept to myself, but I guess even that's not good enough for her. She's complained about everything, from my garden hose being too visible to my trash bins being out 5 minutes too early. So when she saw me carrying my prescription bag, I could tell she was watching. She always is. What's weird, though, is that she seemed extra interested that day, almost like she was waiting for something. I didn't think much of it, until the footage showed her casually strolling over, looking both ways like she was crossing a street, then reaching into my porch chair and grabbing the bag. Why would someone do that? Was she trying to make a point? Or was there something else going on? Something I wasn't seeing yet? After watching the footage a few more times, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just some petty HOA drama. This was calculated. My arthritis medication isn't something you just accidentally toss in the trash. It's labeled. It has my name on it. And it's not cheap either. The fact that she took it, walked off like it meant nothing, and dumped it without blinking. That's what really got to me. I started asking around the neighborhood, just casually at first. Turns out, I wasn't the only one she'd targeted. One neighbor said she poured out their bird seed because it attracted pests. Another told me she once called the city on him for unauthorized paint colors on a backyard shed no one could even see. And then came the kicker. An older woman a few houses down told me her medication had gone missing last year too. She thought she had misplaced it, but now she's not so sure. So I decided to go back to the pharmacy. I explained what happened, and luckily, the head pharmacist took me seriously. That's when we pulled up more of the security footage, this time from a different angle. And what we saw next made everything even more strange. It wasn't the first time she'd been there, lurking, watching, almost like she was looking for something specific. As we went through more of the footage, things took an even darker turn. The more we watched, the clearer it became that this wasn't just some random act of frustration from a nosy neighbor. She had been at that pharmacy several times before, and each time she seemed to show up right after I picked up my prescription. It wasn't a coincidence anymore, it was a pattern. But here's the real kicker. On one of the clips, she wasn't alone. A man was with her, someone I'd never seen before. He wasn't a regular in the area, and judging by his appearance, he didn't belong to any of the neighborhood circles I knew. The two of them exchanged a quick, almost secretive glance before she walked up to the counter. Then she casually slipped her hand into her purse, like she was waiting for a signal. That's when she grabbed my medication. I had no idea who the man was or what his role was in this, but something felt off. I was starting to piece together something much bigger than a petty HOA squabble. She wasn't just interfering with my life for fun. There was a purpose. But what was it? Why did she need my meds so badly? And what was her connection to this mystery man? At this point, I knew I had to confront her, but I also knew that confronting her would be dangerous. She had already shown she was willing to go to extremes, and now I was more certain than ever that she wasn't going to back down. The stakes were higher than they'd ever been. I was ready to face her head-on, but I had no idea what kind of reaction I was going to get. Would she deny everything? Or was this all about to spiral out of control in ways I couldn't predict? The moment I decided to confront her, I felt a surge of adrenaline. I couldn't back down now, especially after everything I'd uncovered. But just as I was about to leave the house and confront her face to face, something unexpected happened. My phone buzzed with an alert. It was a message from the pharmacy. The tone of it immediately made my stomach drop. It read, "We've noticed some unusual activity linked to your prescription, and we think you should be aware. Someone has tried to refill your medication using your details. We've already contacted the authorities." Wait, what? Someone had tried to refill my prescription. But how? The only person who could access that information would be someone who had access to my personal records, and that didn't sit right. This wasn't just a random attack anymore. This was calculated, targeted. The pharmacy had already called the police, and I was advised to hold off on confronting the woman just yet. They were going to investigate the man in the footage. But just as I was processing this new twist, I got another text, this time from a number I didn't recognize. It was brief. "I know what you're doing. Stop digging into things you don't understand. Or else." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Who was threatening me now? Was this all connected to her? And if so, what had I really gotten myself into? I was no longer just trying to get my medication back. Now I had no idea who I could trust, or who was watching my every move. The threat from the unknown number sent a chill through me, but I knew I couldn't back down now. I had to find out what was really going on. So I decided to go straight to the police with everything I had: the footage, the pharmacy's alert, and the threatening message. I thought the authorities would finally put the pieces together. But when I showed up at the station, the officer's face immediately changed. He seemed uncomfortable, almost hesitant to speak. "We've been monitoring the situation for a while," he said carefully. "It's more complicated than you think." I didn't have time for vague answers, so I pressed him. And that's when he finally let it slip. The woman I had been tracking. She wasn't just a random HOA enforcer. She was part of a larger scam, one that targeted vulnerable people like me, stealing their prescriptions and selling them on the black market. The man in the footage, he wasn't just a bystander. He was her accomplice, and they had been operating under the radar for years. My head was spinning. I couldn't believe it. The HOA Karen wasn't just a petty nuisance, she was a criminal. And to think I had been going through this whole ordeal, thinking it was just about some nosy neighbor. But that wasn't the final twist. As the officer spoke, his phone buzzed. His expression shifted to one of alarm. "I need to show you something," he said. He handed me his phone, and my stomach dropped as I saw the notification. It was from the pharmacy. "The woman you've been tracking, she's just been found dead." I froze, trying to make sense of it. Had she been involved in something bigger than I could have ever imagined? Was it retaliation from her associates? But there was no time to process it. The final shock came when the officer told me the police had been investigating her for months. She had been a key player in a much larger network of prescription fraud, and the situation was far from over. The story didn't end with her arrest or death. It had only just begun. As the days passed, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. The woman's death was ruled suspicious, and the police continued their investigation into the larger prescription fraud network she had been tied to. What I hadn't expected was the ripple effect it caused. Many people in the neighborhood had unknowingly become part of her scheme, including some I'd considered friends. It was a wake-up call for me. The HOA drama, the petty complaints, all seemed so insignificant compared to the criminal activity that had been hiding in plain sight. The police eventually found more evidence tying her and her accomplice to multiple fraud rings, and they were able to shut down several operations. My own prescription was replaced, and I received a heartfelt apology from the pharmacy for not catching the scam earlier. The neighborhood began to heal from the shock, but it left me with one big lesson. Never assume you know everything about the people around you. What seemed like a small issue, just a meddling neighbor, had turned into something much darker. In the end, I never did confront her face to face, but I didn't need to. The truth had already come to light, and the weight of that truth was enough to leave me with a sense of closure.